Welcome, everybody, to the Big East Power Sports Show Digital Edition. We're here to get everybody amped up and charged up for the coming winter, despite, not being able to gather at shows. And here to help me out is my friend Jaret Smith from Yamaha. Welcome, Jaret.
Hi, John. How you doing today? Happy to be here.
Well, I'm doing pretty good, although, I'd be doing better if you and I were not sitting in your garage in my office, if we were sitting in a big convention center surrounded by people that were as excited about snowmobiling as we are. What do you miss about the shows, Jaret?
Yeah, it's a different year this year. The starting of the snowmobile season is really the shows for us. And we get excited interacting with customers, going to shows, seeing new product that's ours as well as other customers, and just, get that initial itch that the season's coming, the leaves are changing, it's time. It's like it just feels like a regular seasonality type thing where snowmobiling's coming, and the shows is a key way for us to kind of get that energy going.
Absolutely. Like, we always get people stopping by our booth and talking about, you should do a story on this, or you should do that, or, why don't you tell Yamaha to do this, or whatever it is. Do you guys end up getting a lot of advice at shows and important feedback from consumers?
We do. We get riding stories, which are always fun. People enjoying their product, getting out last season and putting big miles on, or putting down a big mile an hour, or, winning races or something like that. That's always cool stuff, like grudge match type feeling. So we get that. We always have sincere amount of questions, and I enjoy going to those shows and talking to the consumers and answering their questions and spending that time with our core customer to say, what do you like about the product? What don't you like about the product? And that helps me as well as Yamaha determine our future direction and where we're going. So that face-to-face customer time is always so valuable.
Absolutely, it is. So let's pretend for a second that we're actually in Syracuse and there's a big convention center. I can envision people walking into the Yamaha booth and talking about certain things and having questions about certain things. Let's start with the bulk of the lineup, the trail sled. You've got a new ski. Our staff absolutely loved it when we got to try it out at our Road Reports testing event. Tell people about this new single keel ski and what it's going to do for them.
New for 2021 is our Strike ski. We're happy to have a new ski in the lineup. It replaces previously the tuner ski. That ski was mainly designed for what we call CVU models, so Apexes and models like Vectors. With the new chassis and Sidewinder and Viper, we felt like we needed a new ski to really take the handling and kind of sharpen the handling on that vehicle. So the Strike ski being a single keel, we use some new carbide technology with staggered carbides. We use that single keel design to give us that performance feeling of the vehicle and really represent that high speed, high handling, groom trail, kind of do anything kind of Sidewinder with lots of power to boot. So we balanced that ski with the overall chassis of the Sidewinder.
Right. What our staff loved is you just had so much more confidence in corners. You just knew exactly where that sled was going to stick, and from your entry to your exit, it just really held its line well.
Yeah, that was something that, on the tuners, for those guys that rode that extra little bit harder and rode a little more aggressive, that's where they could really push the boundary of that ski. So a dual keel will give you that anti-darting feeling and will help you with some of the wandering and stuff you feel on the trail. But in most cases, you do sacrifice some of that cornering confidence. So that was one of our key design targets with Strike, was to improve that cornering confidence, improve the feeling of when you go through that corner that it's going to stick, it's not going to push, and you just have that confidence when you're riding a vehicle like that, semi-aggressively or aggressively.
So for those of you who get Snow Goer magazine, check out our first issue this year. Jaret and I actually did a Q&A in that issue where you'll be able to see a lot more details and the kind of the story behind the development of the ski. Let's switch here a little bit and go to one of your other exciting new models, the SX Venom. First of all, bringing back the Venom name is cool, but what a cool little snowmobile! Kind of a 7/8 size, amazing power out of a 400 single. Tell people about that snowmobile and really what it's targeted for.
So the SX Venom for us is very important because it establishes that step-up strategy. So we see it a lot in our bikes, and we have what we call our blue bike strategy, where we have different levels of bikes for everyone as they work on, get bigger, and as they grow. So the Venom for us brings that to snowmobile. We start with the 120, you get up to snow scoot, then there was that big jump all the way to Viper. And we wanted to make a snowmobile that was somewhere in between, but wasn't too small, being just a youth snowmobile. So we positioned this one at 7/8, 65 horsepower class, where not only can a step up or youth ride it, but it could be easily a second snowmobile for a wife, girlfriend, or a sled that you're just taking when you're playing around in the tight and twisties. So it really opened up that horizon where this snowmobile is fitted not just for those youth riders, but also anyone that's stepping up or getting into snowmobiling and wants to kind of learn the fundamentals of snowmobiling on a snowmobile that's positioned and sized right for someone to learn how a snowmobile acts and handles.
You know, that's probably one of the big tragedies about not having a fall snow show season this year is people aren't able to go and easily go sit on this thing. Now, they can go to a dealership, and I would encourage they would, whether it's your model or your cousins there. Because when you get on this model, you hear 7/8 and what does that mean? But you fit on there pretty well. But it's definitely less intimidating with how low you sit and how plain the handlebars are, and just the whole layout is just really unintimidating.
Yeah, and that's so important. Like the overall width is shrunk down, the nose is shrunk down, the overall size of the track is a 121 versus nowadays we're seeing 137, 146. So it's everything's just that smaller size. So it makes you feel more in control, more comfortable if you're a newer rider getting onto a snowmobile.
Yeah, it's your team did a fine job with that thing. That was one of the most talked about models out at our Road Reports testing. Everyone was got off that thing with a smile, and we're talking about full size guys that are used to ripping down trails. We all just fell in love with that little sled. It was wonderful. Let's switch gears again. Road Reports was held out in West Yellowstone, Montana again this year, which is big mountain territory. And guess what? The Mountain Max was back. You guys. Suddenly there's a Mountain Max 800 out there that someone can go rip around on. Talk about why Yamaha made this step to get back involved in the mountain side of it with it.
Yeah, so for us, getting back in the mountain was important. We felt that we weren't necessarily as competitive as we wanted to be with the 4-stroke in the mountain, and we identified that it's primarily a 2-stroke game in the mountain. And if we're coming back to the mountain from discontinuing the Sidewinder, we felt we needed to be competitive, and we wanted something that brought some really good tech to the market. So we worked with our supply agreement partners, and we brought a very relevant snowmobile. We, of course, put some of our DNA in there with some of the attributes that we changed for our own snowmobiles, whether it be calibration-wise and skis and things like that. But we felt now that we're bringing a snowmobile to the market that's very relevant, that's competitive, that we have that Yamaha DNA on, and that our customers can really enjoy, whether it be the backcountry or in the really steep and deep. So I think they're going to enjoy this upcoming season. We had some great response on our spring orders and some really good sales. So we're happy to get all those customers on Mountain Maxes this year.
So I think one thing that sometimes people forget when they see the names of various people associated with the manufacturers, you're a rider too. So what's a perfect sled that you'd want to take out that you're looking forward to riding this winter when you're taking a Jaret Smith family vacation? What's your dream sled there in the Yamaha lineup?
Well, I'm guilty of having a few sleds in the stable. So I like some of the old stuff. Like I got a 2002 SRX I picked up last year. That's a great sled to take on kind of those days when the trail is groomed perfectly flat and not far from my house, but half an hour. It starts to open up in farmers' fields where it's fast, swooping corners. I love taking that thing out for that. If there's bumps, I'm going to take something new though. So I have a newer SRX I built at the end of last year that we'll be highlighting in some of the vlogs this year. That's a little extra horsepower, a little extra transfer and stuff like that. That'll be cool, kind of more of a race/play sled. So typically I tend to pick the SRXs, but I like the vintage stuff. So Enticers and Bravos, they're sitting in the garage too, ready to go. So depends on the day, really, John.
Yeah. And that's the thing that your Sidewinder SRX needed was more horsepower. So I saw why you did it, Exactly what that means. My Lord. All right, well, we want to thank you for joining us. We're missing out, all you viewers. We wish we could be doing this face-to-face, but we promise we'll do it with you next year. Thanks again, Jaret.
Thanks, John. We'll see you soon.